Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about the latest update, the latest sneak peek for update 3.7, because we got another one and it's a bit of a head scratcher at first. Now, the character is not particularly beloved by the community, but they're a long-standing Marvel Legacy-esque character, and this is Falcon. Following in the steps of Punisher War Machine yesterday, it appears that we're getting another uniform with this update, and this is definitely now confirmed as a mostly, if not entirely, Marvel Legacy themed update. Every character that we've gotten so far and every uniform that we've gotten so far has hinted or has some sort of tie into Marvel Legacy. Now, it doesn't really give us any kind of more specific idea of who we might be getting next, but I'll get into that later. First, I want to discuss why this is so great for Falcon, because I discussed yesterday why Punisher would be good to get a uniform, especially in the form of War Machine's armor, but Falcon is even more in need of help, because where Punisher can really do a couple of things well at tier 2 if you armor him to the teeth with his newest Netflix uniform and his iframes and the general boost in damage that he gets, and also with the miss or the blind effect that he has on a lot of his skills. Falcon really doesn't have that. I actually don't have his uniform equipped right now because he actually gets fewer iframes when he reverts to his all new, all different Captain America outfit. And it gets a little bit better with Civil War, but that's not one I have. But he could really use a tune-up, and he looks particularly badass in his Marvel Legacy new kind of digs, the wings, Redbird, all of it is just amazing. So I wanted to hit you guys with a few more images so you can see just how cool Falcon looks and maybe get hyped, because this uniform could really be the turning point for this character. In addition, I do want to point out the fact that Netmarble has recently taken to updating and buffing characters via uniforms, most notably with the Thor Ragnarok update. We got a huge rework basically for Thor, Hela, Loki, and Hulk. They all got massive buffs via a uniform, which really has reinvigorated and breathed new life into a lot of these characters. Hulk was basically useless before this uniform, and now he can even do some pretty amazing things in almost all game modes. He's definitely in the top 30 to top 40 in the game, so he went from 0 to hero. So there's really a strong possibility that if Netmarble keeps this up, they could bring about similar changes and similar buffs for the likes of Punisher and Falcon. And who wouldn't want that? I mean, it would be so cool to see the reward of people investing in these characters and struggling with them, and then having their power level spike to a respectable level where they're not overpowered, because none of the Ragnarok characters are overpowered, but they all now excel in a way that they never excelled before, and they're all a danger and they have to be respected when you see them. If I see a Falcon in Timeline, or if I see a Falcon in Alliance Conquest, it's an easy win. It's a free win for me. But if he got this uniform, and if they made the types of changes that they did for the likes of Hulk, Thor, Loki, and Hela for Ragnarok, this would be a monumental win for Falcon fans and for Punisher fans by extension with the other uniform. In addition, as some people have pointed out, it's better, while it is more costly to buff characters via uniforms than to just buff their base kit, it is better in the long run because it doesn't alter the Shadowland landscape as much. A lot of the changes that people felt in a negative way around Spidey's upgrade when his base kit got changed to add the new iframes and the webbing duration, it really hurt the most in Shadowland, where he appears with his Renewed Vows uniform and he just wreaks havoc with all those iframes. He also appears with the all new, all different in the webbing Rumble, but it still makes it a much bigger headache to fight him. But when you have upgrades that target specific uniforms, it serves two positive purposes, actually three. On the one hand, the most important thing is that the community gets to use a character that's existing in the game in a real substantial way. Falcon is not just going to be fodder on your team anymore. He actually could be the main damage dealer. He could be the main tank for your team in a composition of 3 or as a solo run in a certain game mode, which is refreshing to see. On the second hand, as I've already mentioned, it doesn't alter too much, or doesn't drastically change the difficulty of existing Shadowland stages, which is most helpful for newer and intermediate players who are still getting acclimatized to Shadowland. I personally don't mind if Shadowland gets buffed every update with changes to the core characters, because I don't find too much of a challenge, and I find the repetition of Shadowland a little bit more of a grind. But I can understand why the majority of the community doesn't want these types of changes to affect Shadowland. But the third, and arguably more important reason than the second, but less than the first, is that Netmarble is able to monetize these changes in a way that's healthy both for themselves to continue to make money on this game and for us as the consumer. By selling us a 750 crystal or a mid-level, mid-tier kind of Thor Ragnarok 1200 or 1000 crystal uniform, as they did for Thor and Loki and Hulk, they can continue to profit off of this game and be able to fund future updates and have this game open for the next 10 years hopefully, and we can feel good about the purchases that we're getting something that we know exists. We're not gambling for something, we're not risking or taking a chance that we're going to get the uniform we want. We know exactly, you pay a few dollars or you pay $10 or however much, you get the crystals that you need, you purchase the uniform, and suddenly you've transformed Falcon or whichever character from a zero into a hero. And we have a lot of notable examples outside of the Thor Ragnarok update where they've done that to characters. They breathed new life into Yondu with his latest uniform, which was great because he was sorely missing one after the second year anniversary kind of botched update where he didn't even get a uniform. Venom is another huge one. He is completely useless without his uniform, which is fine for Shadowland because he's kind of still annoying there with the zombie or the classic look, but he becomes fantastic with his uniform, and I would have gladly paid double the crystal cost to have this one. It changes his skill around, it feels like a brand new character, and he's finally useful. So as long as these uniforms change the character around substantially, it's not just the same 5 skills with a color reskin, and as long as they make the character viable, not overpowered, I am glad to pay, more than the traditional cost for uniforms. And if that's the model that Netmarble wants to take moving forward, if they want to kind of grandfather the 750 crystal uniform cost and introduce this new crystal cost as the baseline, I have no problem with it at all. Heck, throw in an Iron Man uniform while you're at it. Extremist armor, anyone? So I am genuinely excited for Falcon. But now that we know for certain, based on the text and based on the wording that Netmarble has used, in addition to the specific types of uniforms that they're choosing, we can definitely say for sure this is a Marvel Legacy update. But I don't think we're just getting 2 characters and 2 uniforms. It would be a little bit bare. So I do expect there to be more, which now opens up the possibility for us to speculate, which I really like to do. So I've compiled a list of some of my favorite Marvel Legacy characters so that I can go through it with you guys and let you know exactly what I would like to see and what I think you guys would like to see. So I think the most requested, probably the most hyped Marvel Legacy themed, and from the pages of Marvel Legacy chapters, as far as character uniforms go, would have to be from the Spirits of Vengeance. I'm talking Hellstorm, Satana, Blade, and Ghost Rider. These 4 characters all appear together in this Marvel Legacy mini run, and it would mean a new uniform for Hellstorm, a new uniform for Satana. It could mean buffs and or a new uniform for Blade. And I know it's a different version of Ghost Rider, but it could also mean a new uniform for Ghost Rider, or a new character, a third Ghost Rider, believe it or not. The second character that I chose to get a uniform for Marvel Legacy in the next coming sneak peek would be Jessica Jones, and while her uniform doesn't look very much different from this default modern look, she's one of the only characters left in the game that doesn't have any uniforms, and she also sorely needs a rework, which a uniform would absolutely address if it were to be on the same kind of power level as something like Hulk's uniform. I think you can compare these 2 characters pretty closely before their uniforms, but definitely not after, because as I've said, she doesn't have one, whereas Hulk's newest Gladiator uniform is fantastic. But I do think this one is a long shot because it just doesn't have enough. She's not a big enough part of the Marvel Legacy run, and it more centers around her nemesis, the Purple Man, than it does with her specifically. The next person I think a lot of people are going to agree with, and a lot of people have been asking for a long time, another speed character, this might be a speed meta after this update, is Hawkeye. And Hawkeye kind of plays second fiddle to Kate Bishop in their Marvel Legacy run. He only appears for a couple of issues, but he has a pretty cool kind of hipster looking uniform. It's all black, it's got that purple little arrow kind of thing. And I think it would be really nice for the character to get an update. He's definitely as core and as old and kind of revered as the likes of, you know, Punisher, Captain America, Falcon, Thor, kind of the OGs of the Marvel universe, and definitely, you know, one of the Avengers, which makes him kind of solidified in that top list of names that come to your mind right away when you think of Marvel games, movies, or comics. So I really do hope that Hawkeye gets some kind of love, but again, it's a bit of a long shot with him, pun intended, because it isn't even his run. It's his run in kind of corroboration with Kate Bishop, but she's more of the focus of things in general. The next run I want to mention from Marvel Legacy is actually two characters rolled into one in terms of the comic series. It's Kingpin and Daredevil, and while neither character looks particularly different from their default uniforms in the Marvel Legacy run, both of these characters are in sore need of a uniform or some kind of new look to revitalize the character and buff them up to a usable standpoint, like we got with Thor, like we got with Hulk. They're just not good enough now. Daredevil having two uniforms, neither of which has been able to really buff up the character enough to the point where he's kind of a respectable character, the likes of which we've compared to other characters that have gotten recent uniform reworks. A couple of extras that I want to just mention that are kind of my favorites that are new characters that could come to this game. They're not uniforms per se, but I would really love to see, he makes a brief appearance in Falcon's issues, Dr. Voodoo. I've said it quite a few times, he's in Marvel Contest of Champions. Would love to see a new Sorcerer Supreme to kind of tango with Doctor Strange being Dr. Voodoo. I think it would be amazing, and he looks so cool with that kind of ghost skull mask thing on his face. The last one is Iceman. He has a run self-titled in Marvel Legacy, and he has some interactions with Daken, who is connected closely to X-23, so I would really like to see a couple more X-Men coming in, and he is my top pick, although Daken would be my other pick, and it makes more sense for Daken technically because of his run in Marvel Legacy with X-23 and the kind of Orphans X. But those are my picks. Lastly, I do want to mention that in general, I think it might be better for Netmarble and it might be better for us to have fewer X-Men per update. And this is something that I've seen on both sides. I have seen some of the community saying we just want an X-Men themed update. Just give us more X-Men, more mutants. That's it. I just want to see 5 or 6 X-Men like we got with the original run back in the summer. But then I have seen other people wisely, and I do want to champion their voice as well, saying that because we have a limited supply of these items, it's better to get a kind of trickle down number and progression of future mutants, maybe 1 or 2 every 2 or 3 updates, which will allow basically the entire player base to collect them at a reasonable and controlled pace. Because if you introduce too many too soon, you kind of imbalance the number of people that are going to get them quickly. You make people rely too heavily on the featured shop, which I mean could be good for Netmarble if they do really need to do a solid job of, you know, making a bunch of money quickly to sell a lot of X-Men advancement packs, or to sell even X-Men advancement packs for specific characters, because there have been rumors that those are coming in the future where you were just buying specific bios for one specific character that is an X-Men. But I do think personally, if I have to chime in, that just 1 or 2 is probably enough and would fit with the theme that they've developed, having the limit of 2,000 on these 2 rank up materials, and then it would, you know, require fewer native tier 2 X-Men, and it would give us the ability to have that balance where we can have some weaker X-Men like Rogue or Storm or Beast who are still very cool and who are still beloved because they're X-Men. So let me know what you guys think of my predictions for future sneak peeks and who else is coming in this update. Make your own predictions, just make sure that they are from Marvel Legacy, and detail for me why you think they're going to show up and why Netmarble would choose them specifically from Marvel Legacy, given that they've already gone with X-23, Adam Warlock, Punisher, War Machine, and Falcon. Whoever gets their answer closest to the correct choices or choice will get a prize at the end of this update sneak peek cycle when we have the patch notes out. So we'll be announcing it in just a few short days, so get your results in. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.